Good morning. In the previous videos, we have seen that what is an importance of the function, what are the advantages of the functions, and how the functions are going to be declared, defined, and how the function is called. Now we will see the different categories of the function. So there are four different categories of the functions based on the what kind of a parameters you are going to be passing, whether you will pass the parameter or whether you are not passing the parameter. So and what kind of an parameter is going to be returning, whether the function will return any one of the return type, then we say that it is an maybe an integer type, or it may be an floating type, it may be a character. So based on that one, there are four categories. So only two concept is which kind of an arguments you are going to be passing. If you pass an argument, then there will be a different kind. If you are not passing an argument, it will be referred by the void. And the second one is based on the return type. If the function is returning anything, then we will refer by the type of that return value. Otherwise it will be indicated by the void. So we have a four types. One is called as an void function without parameter. The first the category is void function without parameter. The meaning is function is going to be not using any parameter for its computation, and also the function will not return anything. The second one is void function with parameter. So function is going to be using the parameter. Based on the parameter, it does the certain computation, and but it will not return any kind of an arguments, or it will not return any type of data. So that is void function with parameter. Then the third one is non-void function without parameter. So function is not accepting any parameter, but it will return any type of the data. So another one is non-void function with parameters. So now we will see first example is void function without parameter. So in this one, example given is, so we use a function name called as addition. So function name is addition. The function is not going to be using any kind of a parameter. So in a parenthesis, it is referred by the keyword called as void, and the function will not return any type of an argument. Then we say that it is a void. So return type is void, and the function is not accepting any parameter, means it is also void. So the name is a function is used without the parameter, without any return value. So in a main function, we will call the function as an addition with a blank. So blank indicates that the addition function is going to be not using any kind of an arguments. So whenever it jumps to the that function, in that function we have declared the local variable called as an p and q and sum. So p, q and sum are the integers. So here we will ask the user to enter the p and q values. So they are of the integer type, and these p and q are going to be added, and its result will be stored in the variable called as an sum, and the sum is going to be printed here. So this function, when it is defined, it will take the p and q value and it does the addition operation, but it will not return any data type. So second thing is we use a second example is void function with the parameter. Void function with the parameter, meaning is function will not return any data type, but it will accept the parameter. So in a square box, I have shown you that function name is addition, but it is accepting the parameter as an int x and int y. X and y are the certain formal arguments or a data type of the data type called as an integer, but the function will not return any type, so it is referred by the void. So here when we call the function here, in a main function we call the addition function with arguments is a and b, and here when it jumps to the function definition, so here sum is a local variable, and it is accepting the x and y values as an argument. Here the arguments are called as formal arguments. So from the formal argument, it will does the addition of the two numbers, but after doing the addition it will not return anything to the main function. So it is void. The third example is so non-void function without parameters, meaning is a function is going to be not using any parameters as an argument, but it will return the certain data type. So example is given is in a function declaration, int addition followed by the void. So addition is the name of the function, but it is not going to be using any argument, but it will return the integer as a data type. So when the function is going to be defined here, so in the definition function we use in a function definition, the function will return an integer values. So example is int addition and void. In that case sum and ab are the integer numbers. So I will and you are going to be accepting a certain data from the user to enter. That is why we asked and enter the value of a and b. So a and b values are going to be added, and this added result will be returned to the variable called as a sum. So the function will return the sum, which goes to the function call. In a function call we have defined printf sum is equal to %d of sum. So this sum comes from the output of an function, this function definition. So this is an example of a word called as function is going to be not accepting any parameter, but it will return the integer data type. And the fourth classification is it is a non-void function with parameter. So in this one a function is going to be returning the data type also and also accepting the data types. So here in this example function definition we have used int addition int x comma int y. So int x comma int y is nothing but arguments are going to be as a parameter, and the addition function will also integer type. So here in this case in a function definition of an addition, int sum is a local variable which does the addition of the two number and return the sum value. So this is the variety of the what's called as an functions. We have four classifications. One is function is not accepting any parameter and also not return any data type. So the second one is function will accept the data type but it will not return anything. That is second category. Third category is function will not accept any data but it will return the it is having an return type. And the last one is accepting the parameter, also the function is returning the sum value. And one more concept of a function is recursion. So the recursion function is in this case recursion meaning is nothing but repetitive. Meaning is the function itself will calls it the function calls itself. So the same function is calling itself. That is called as recursion. So example is I have given with one example to find an factorial using a recursion function. So in this case we have declared the function name is facto, and it is passing an argument called as an int n, and the function is returning an int. So int is the return type of the function, facto is the name of the function, and it is accepting the parameter called as an int n. So in this case in the main function we are asking the user to enter the name of enter the value for which we want to find out an factorial. So user is entering the variable or an value of an n, and that value is going to be called in a function called as an answer is equal to facto of n. So n is an actual parameter, and it is used by the function name called as an facto, and whenever it calls this function as an facto, it directly jumps to the function definition as an int facto int of n. In this case locally we have declared a variable called as an factorial, and we have used an one important condition called as an if the value of the n for which we want to find out a factorial is 1, then factorial of 1 is nothing but we know that it is 1 only, so it will return the 1 and it will jump out of the loop. Otherwise if it is other than the 1, then it goes to the else part, in an else part, it does the computation factorial is equal to n into factorial of n minus 1. So, here the name of the facto in an factorial is equal to n into facto of n minus 1 means, so facto is initially we have called the function, again in the inside the function we will call the again the same function name called as an facto. So, what it does is it will calls the same function by itself. So, I have given an example. Example is what we have given is for example n is equal to 5. So, n is equal to 5 means, so the function will jump into the your function definition. In a function definition, int of factorial and int n is if n is equal to 1. So, we have passed an argument as an n is equal to 5. So, 5 will not be equal to 1. It is a false statement. It will comes to the else part. In an else part, what it does is, it does the factorial is equal to n into facto of n minus 1. So, facto of n minus 1 means n is 5, facto of n minus 1 is nothing but 5 minus 1. So, it will, what it displays in the first step is factorial is equal to 5 into facto of 4. So, facto of 4 means again the same function is called, it returns to the same function, that is facto of n. So, n value now it is 4. So, it enters into the loop, 4 is not equal to 1. So, it comes to the else part. Else part is nothing but factorial is equal to n into facto of n minus 1. That is nothing but our now n is nothing but an 4. Initially we have an 5 value. So, again what it does is 5 into 4 and facto of n minus 1 is nothing but it is 4 minus 1 is 3. So, 3 in the sense again the function will calls the facto, it goes to the same facto of n. Now, your n value is 3. So, it enters into the loop, n is or 3 is not equal to the n. So, it will jumps into the else part and it does the computation here. If n is equal to or if 3 is equal to 1, it is a false statement. So, what it does is factorial is equal to, earlierly we have an 5 and 4 are the n values. So, now it is n is 3, 5 into 4 into 3 and again factor of 2. So, in this way the execution will be repeating until we get n is equal to 1. Suppose if our value n is equal, so 1 is equal to 1 condition is true, it will enter into the return function in the if statement. So, in an if statement we have an return 1 value. So, what it returns is, earlierly it has a 5, 4, 3 and 2 are there. Now, it will return a 1. So, 5 4s are 20. 20 into 3 is nothing but it is 60, 60 into 2 is nothing but 120. So, it will display the factorial of n 5 is nothing but 120. So, what this recursive function does is, it calls itself until certain condition is going to be met. So, for by doing this one, our execution will repeat the same set of instructions to get our result. So, until what I have covered is the categories of the functions, and lastly I have covered what is a recursion with a recursion examples. So, if we have any doubts, subscribe onto my YouTube channel, and if your queries are there, so you ask a queries, I will solve your queries. Have a nice day. Thank you.